Hi, I'm Robert Tolpe, and today we're talking about men with microphones. Pretty ironic considering I am in fact a man with a microphone. But we're talking about a very specific kind of man here. They're normally straight, dressed like they own a tech startup, and they constantly talk about women in a misogynistic way on their terrible podcasts, and claim to be experts at attracting women, even though it's evident that they rarely ever come in contact with women at all. Highlights from the podcast these men host have gone wildly viral on TikTok in recent months, resulting in countless response videos from creators who aren't too happy with what these men have to say. In this video, I will be exploring the misogynistic world of male TikTok podcasters and their awful takes, so buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time is running out, so get your deal by clicking the link in the video description below. If you've been on TikTok for a while, you may have had the misfortune of coming across a little show called the Good Bro, Bad Bro podcast. It's hosted by a man named Jack Denmo, who in my understanding was a popular prank YouTuber for a long while until he transitioned to the podcast scene. He claims to be able to help young men with their girl issues, but judging from the advice he gives on his podcasts, after watching one or two of his videos, you'll begin to get the feeling that Jack fundamentally misunderstands not only what motivates women in their relationships, but he also misunderstands the systems in place that prevent women from attaining the level of wealth and power that men attain. There is a set of fundamental principles that make up Jack's mindset regarding women that can be seen in each TikTok he makes. The main tenet of the female psyche, at least according to him, is that women require constant validation from men, which comes to them effortlessly via dating apps and the internet.
Tinder's a dating app for men, but a validation app for women.
So is Instagram.
Yeah. And like when I tell girls I give like guys Tinder advice, they're like, why would you need Tinder advice? Like Tinder's so easy.
Women need attention and validation like plants need sunlight and water.
Is there any truth in these statements? Well, in one peer-reviewed study of Tinder users that I found, published in the Journal of Mobile Media and Communication, women were more likely to self-report that they use the app for self-validation when compared to men. The men in that same study reported that they use the app more for relationships and casual flings. So in some ways, Tinder is indeed a validation app for women and a dating app for men. But do women really depend on male validation and attention in the same way that plants depend on sunlight and water to survive? Of course not. Many men overestimate their importance in the lives of women. They believe that women do things to gain validation from men, such as wearing nice outfits and carefully tending to their hair and makeup. But the reality is when a woman dresses in an elegant fashion or spends 2 hours on her makeup, she's not always doing it for men. That would usually be a waste of time because most men don't appreciate that kind of effort beyond a certain extent. But do you know who does notice when a woman's makeup, hair, and nails are on point? Other women. That's right, women desire female validation just as much, if not more, than male validation. This is not to say that there aren't women who do things exclusively for male validation to an unhealthy extent. We live in a deeply misogynistic society where we are socialized to see a man's words as more objective and more valuable than a woman's words. Women can and do internalize that misogynistic thinking. Just check out this clip from another podcast where men shout into microphones.
Party girls, just immature
Yeah.
women, attention whores. What are they?
Attention whores that just want to party and just want to see. They just like the attention from guys, so they're gonna go out, dress all hot and sexy.
This one woman's perspective is not evidence that women are somehow inherently dependent on men for validation. This just shows how pervasive stereotypes are and how they even influence the thinking of the people that are being stereotyped. So if this idea that women need constant validation from men isn't always the case, why do men with microphones assume this is a simple fact of life? In my opinion, there is a great deal of projection involved here. These podcasts are centered around giving advice to men who desperately seek the attention of women. It's no wonder that these men think women constantly crave male attention because these men constantly crave female attention. This quickly turns into what seems to be rudimentary misogyny, but on a deeper level, it is rooted in envy of what they think life is like for women.
I understand why girls post so many photos and stories on Instagram? Because it's so easy for them. They put a little thing on their story. Oh my God, like food. Some guys will be like, oh, that looks good.
In these guys' minds, that's what it's like being a woman on Instagram. Women apparently post stories simply to get unsolicited comments from men. It doesn't even come across the podcaster's mind that maybe women don't even want these unsolicited comments and might be bothered by them, as many unsolicited DMs are hella creepy. But where is this misconception coming from? I think the reason why Jack thinks that this is what it's like being a woman is because it's what he desires in his life. Posting a picture of his food on his Instagram story and someone gives him positive attention. He envies that. Remember that Jack has to say misogynistic and inflammatory crap online just to get hate comments from women. He'd probably give anything even just to get creepy messages, because anything is better than posting something on your Instagram story and not even getting a single reaction at all. Before I continue, I'd like to once again thank my sponsor, Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is an excellent tool, not only to browse the internet securely when using public Wi-Fi, but it is especially useful when using streaming services such as Netflix or Amazon Prime. These services put geo-blocks on certain content, which Atlas VPN can work around, giving you access to a wide array of content available to people in different countries. Their user interface is incredibly simple to use, and considering how cheap it is per month, it's a much better deal than paying for multiple extra streaming services just to get access to the same content. At the moment, Atlas VPN is on super sale, and you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. This is a limited time offer, so get your deal by clicking the link in the video description below. Returning to what I was saying, not all of Jack's mindset comes from projection or envy. Some of it is just plain misogyny.
Men are the wealthiest of the two genders in the world, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of billionaires are men, and 10 out of 10 of the wealthiest women in the world got that money from either divorce or inheritance from a man, okay?
Whoa.
Misogyny.
Now you may ask, why is that statement misogynistic? Well, it isn't in isolation because it's, for the most part, a fact. But bigots have a way of weaving together false narratives out of facts because it's an incredibly easy and effective strategy to spread lies, all while protecting yourself from your critics. If you blatantly lie, you expose yourself to being debunked. But if you say something such as, men are richer than women are average, and just leave that up in the air, implying that this inequality is a result of some kind of inherent difference between men and women and not just a result of misogyny and prejudice, you can turn around and gaslight anyone who calls you out saying, what I said is a simple fact and facts don't care about your irrational feelings. This isn't a very sophisticated strategy though, and the second you start asking questions, their rhetoric falls apart. Sometimes you don't even have to ask questions, and you can just wait for them to tattle on themselves.
The reason men are billionaires more than women is because they'll risk everything but lose it all or just fucking hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys a couple conclusions right here, then I'll explain why they are before you fucking feminists out there. You purple-haired fucks on TikTok. Yo, shout out to all the fucking angry women on TikTok. Just like, misogyny. Okay, relax. I'm doing you guys a favor. You guys need better men in your lives, and let me help them get there. The poorest people in the world are also men. Mm-hmm. And the in-between, the middle class, is majority women. The reason is because women do a lot of research. They weigh out all the options. They take a lot of time to do it. And they're so specific when they do invest because they've done months of due diligence. Mm-hmm. A dude will be skateboarding and he'll hear a guy on the phone saying, yo, bro, I'm putting all my money in this stock. And he'll put everything into it.
Yeah, they see an Elon Musk tweet and they put their mortgage on that.
Bro, a man will risk anything, and it comes at a price.
So in Jack's mind, the wealth gap between men and women in regards to the richest people in the world comes down to a matter of different mindsets. Men take big risks while women think things out a little more and take smaller risks. It's that simple. But it isn't though. There's a lot of barriers in a woman's way of gaining wealth and power beyond her mindset. For instance, the qualities that make men appear to be prime candidates for leadership positions, including assertiveness, being uncompromising, and generally being a jerk, are not desired in women. So this makes it hard for women to compete with candidates for the same role in a company when the playing field isn't even. Additionally, various well-documented phenomena rooted in patriarchy, including the glass ceiling and the glass cliff, hold women back. But the facts don't really matter to Jack, now do they? To him, finding out how the world works for women isn't a matter of careful research and observation. It's instead an opportunity for wild speculation for the purpose of entertaining his audience, and as long as what he says sounds plausible, his audience will believe it. If you're wondering why he is held to such a low standard of intellectual integrity, it's because he's a man. Part of the privilege of being a man, especially being a white man, is that your wild speculation is taken 10 times more seriously than a woman's carefully researched presentation of facts. I often experience this privilege myself here on YouTube. In my experience, and perhaps this is just imposter syndrome, I find my comment section repeats talking points that my videos are so well researched and logical, even when the video in question is largely opinion-based commentary that draws heavily upon my general knowledge. To be fair to myself, my videos aren't necessarily wrong, bad, or uninsightful. It's just that most of them aren't exactly scholarly work, so the fact that many people treat them as such is a result of what I believe is just optics. I feel like being a man who dresses somewhat presentably, owns a nice microphone and camera, and talks in a very serious YouTube voice is half the reason why people listen to me. But anyways, enough about me and my imposter syndrome. I'll save that topic for a mini Patreon video for all access patrons and above. Though Jack is taken more seriously, at least by his audience, because he is a man, that doesn't mean his claims about women make any sense at all. One of the core ideas that these men with microphones have is that some men are of higher market value to women than others. There's kind of a nebulous percentile rank system where in their mind only the top 20 or so percent of high value men get access to women. So it seems the end goal of being a high value man is to be of high enough value to get access to women, which has the downside of making a man's value entirely dependent on what a woman finds attractive. This is a really problematic system of judging your self-worth, especially when you're in the position where you're not attracting any women and you have no idea what qualities a woman values in a man. This seems to be the position that most of these podcast guys are in, unfortunately. There's an account on TikTok called High Value Essentials, whose whole thing is giving awful advice about how to make yourself a high value man, and honestly, it would be a great parody account if it wasn't 100% real. I can't play the video with sound because there's copyrighted music in the background, but he's basically telling men not to reveal to their partners anything about themselves because real men are mysterious or something, and he's telling them to neglect their relationships with women. Needless to say, this advice is terrible. Women don't want to deal with uncommunicative men who ignore them. That's stupid. Because these podcasters have no idea what it's like to be in a healthy relationship with a real human woman, they, for the most part, craft their advice based on tropes we see in pop culture surrounding the idea of a masculine man who has game and can attract women. But we all know that what works in movies and TV shows usually doesn't work in real life, because writers for film and television are mostly men who are just as clueless about women as these podcasters. Men also make assumptions about what a woman values in a man based solely on knowledge of what men value in other men. If you've ever wondered why so many men are holding giant fish in front of their shiny boat on their Tinder profiles, it's because that they think women find that hot. In reality, basically the only people attracted to giant dead fish and new speedboats are other men. This distorted view of what women are into is very common in the podcast community.
A girl will dabble in a breakup, but then she'll be like, hey, it's not so bad out here. All of a sudden, all these guys are like, yo, let's chill.
Yeah.
I can just hop right on. This guy has a car. This guy got his own business.
This guy's got a boat.
To be fair, women who like boats and cars exist. I'm friends with a woman who would swoon at the sight of a man pulling up in a Lamborghini, but the primary demographic you'd attract by owning a very large and shiny vehicle of any kind is men. And a woman is not going to leave her partner for another man just because the new guy in her life has a nice car, unless the woman in question is unsatisfied in her relationship. And something tells me that that woman's ex-boyfriend buying an even nicer car is not going to make her get back together with him. I've mostly talked about how these guys are clueless, but they're more than that. At some point, ignorance becomes pure bigotry. Many of these men just see women as objects that exist only to gratify their desires.
I say, if my wife lets herself go after I have kids with her, if I'm going to tell her once, if you don't get your shit together, I still want to be attracted
Agreed.
to my wife,
Yeah.
my spouse. But if you
Even
can't
girlfriends.
do that, girlfriend too, if you can't do that, I'm out.
Now, of course, nobody is going to force you to be in a relationship you are unhappy with. But I feel like maybe a little respect and understanding is deserved by a woman who just pushed your child out of her body. These podcasters put a lot of focus on the desirability of women's bodies and project their feelings about what bodies they find desirable onto other men.
So something I've noticed too, actually, from clubs, the most confident girls are always the bigger, thicker girls. Because they have to hit on men.
They put themselves out there, bro.
Yeah. Fat chicks, large plus size girls, very aggressive at clubs. Because they have to be the man. They have to be the one approaching.
Jack can't even imagine that a man might want to hit on a fat woman. It's just inconceivable to him. In his mind, the only way these women are getting guys is by, quote, being the man, which to him constitutes aggression, even though these women are supposedly doing the exact same thing that guys do. So when guys hit on women, it's called having game, but when women hit on guys, it's aggression. Talk about misogynistic double standards. I'm sure some of you will also comment that he used a picture of a black woman at a nightclub and that this could give rise to misogynoir and stereotypes about aggressive, fat, and masculine black women. But I'll be charitable here and assume that he didn't go out of his way to find a picture of a black woman, considering that the photo is the second result for the Google image search fat woman dancing at a nightclub. While we could sit here for another hour looking through all the terrible podcast content TikTok has to offer, I don't want to give smaller creators making terrible content a platform here on my channel. I feel like while this video is definitely for a different audience than the kinds of people who watch these podcasts, showing too many of these clips might do more harm than good. At the end of the day, the last thing we need is to inspire more misogynists to buy microphones and start their own podcasts. Anyways, I'm Robert Tolpe, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and maybe checking out my Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. And I'd like to thank everyone for helping me reach 100,000 subscribers on here. It's pretty surreal, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.